Hello, friends. Welcome back to Story Time. Today, the story is about Calvin Coconut by Graham Salisbury. Calvin Coconut, Hero of Hawaii. Chapter 7. The Skiff. When I ran outside, the wind nearly blew me off my feet. Raindrops stung as I leaned into the storm and staggered down our sloping yard to the swamp grass at the edge of the river. Small wooden rowboats are heavy and even heavier when they are half full of rainwater. The wind had blown my tin can bailer out into the river, so I tried to lift the side of the skiff to let the water pour out. "I help you," Clarence shouted. I dropped the skiff and the wind blew me off my feet. I tumbled into the boat with a splash and got tangled up in the oars. Clarence laughed and pulled me out. "Dang oars," I said, squeezing water from my t-shirt. Ledward had his dumb ideas. He would attach the cables to the oars so if they fell into the water, I could just haul them back in. Actually, it was a good idea, except that I usually got tangled up in the cables. It drove me crazy. Last time, I would almost cut them off. Clarence and I dumped the water out and dragged the skiff up into the yard. We left it upside down with the oars tucked under it. As we headed back to the house, I saw Streak looking at us out the living room window. I picked up my pace. Mom better not see her out of the kitchen. In the garage, Clarence and I took off our shirts and wrung the water out. Inside, I grabbed Streak and wrapped her in my wet t-shirt to hide her. I sneaked her past Mom on the phone in the kitchen and took her out to my room. I dragged on a dry shirt and went back into the house. This time, Streak stayed in my room. I called Ledward again. Mom said, hanging up the phone, "I don't know what to do about this lake." Mom had put a bigger bowl under the drip. I looked up at the ceiling. It was like a bubble now and about to pop. "Is he coming down to fix it?" "It's flooding. He can't get through." "What do we do?" Mom shrugged. "Catch water, I guess. Can I call Julio?" "Sure, I'm done. I'm going to get some towels." Mom left the kitchen as I picked up the phone and called. "Hey," I said, "what's up at your place?" "Nothing. My brothers are driving me crazy." "I bet the river is broken over the sandbar down at the beach. It's halfway up my yard." "It is. I had to drag my boat higher." The river usually ended at the beach and never went out into the ocean because the sandbar blocked it. The water just sat there, rusty and warm. "Hey, you want to go down to the beach?" I said. "Yeah, but my parents won't like it." "We can go out your back gate like we are just going to Kalapawai. Come on over." We hung up. His mom and mine were the same. If we asked them if we could go to the beach in a storm like this, they would say no. But they might let us go to Kalapawai market. I peeked around the corner into the living room. No one there. "Mom," I called. "I'm going to Julio's." She answered from down the hall. "Staying inside when you get there." "I will," I said, then whispered for a few minutes. Chapter 8. Hissing, roaring and swirling. Streak was happy in my room, so I left her there until I got back. The wind and rain were fierce, but Julio lived only a few houses up the street. I went into his garage and knocked on the kitchen door. "Hey, Julio," said, opening it. I saw you coming up the street, kind of wobbly. It's the wind. It's awesome. Julio looked over his shoulder. My mom is trying to keep my bozo brothers from tearing down the house. Where is your dad? Watching golf. Let's go then. Hey, mom, he shouted. I'm going with Calvin to Kalapavai. No one answered. Did she hear you? Julio shrugged. Let's get out of here. The wind had gotten worse. Trees were bent over so far they looked like they would snap. The noise was wild, hissing, roaring, swirling. Truly unbelievably awesome. We staggered toward Kalapavai market. No cars were parked in front of the store. You got any money? I shouted, struggling to stay on my feet in the wind. A quarter. What can we buy? Nothing. We skipped Kalapavai and headed down the side road to the beach. When we got to the parking lot at the bend in the road, we saw a cop car. We backed into a hedge. The wind at the beach was screaming. Birds flew away the second you said them. What is he doing? Julio shouted, sitting there. We can't go out now. He will make us go home. We waited and were just about to give up and go back to Julio's house when the cop car pulled out. We ran across the park and up a rise to the ironwood trees that lined the bench. We hung onto the trees, looking out at the ocean. Oh, Julio shouted. The bay, usually a clean turquoise blue, was grey and murky. As far out as I could see, there was nothing but white caps. The wind had churned the surface of the sea into high jagged waves with tops that blew off and flew away in the wind. I felt seasick just looking at it. Look, Julio said, pointing up the beach. The river had broken over the sandbar and was spewing dirt brown water out into the bay. We let go of the trees and raced toward it. When the wind pushed at my back, I ran as fast as a car. When it came back around and hit me in the face, I almost had to get down and crawl. Yee-haw! I shouted when we got to the surging river. Julio grinned. The river was as vast as I would ever seen it and moving like a herd of angry bulls. The sand along its edges was crumbling and falling into the water, the river eating the land away. Floating junk sailed past and headed out to be lost in the ocean. The current was so powerful, it was like the whole river was racing out and going down some giant drain. Only the drain was the ocean. I didn't see any boats out, but there was one crazy windsurfer way down toward the marine air base. Looking down on the raging river, I could only think, scary, whoop. Julio and I turned at the sound. The cop car, blue lights swirling. The cop got out and waved us over. Busted. Julio shouted to me. The cop refused to let us walk home in that wind. Too dangerous, he shouted. You could get hit by something blowing in the wind. Julio and I slid down in the back seat as we turned onto our street. Can you just let us out here? Julia asked long before we got to his house. The cop kept going. You will get soaked. We are soaked already, Julio said. The cop stopped just before Julia's house. Fine, but you boys listen. Stay inside until this storm is over. Agreed. Yeah, I said. We won't come out until the sun does. Which are your houses? We pointed them out. That one down at the end is yours. He asked me. Yeah. That pink car, he said, belongs to Clarence Powell. Am I right? Yeah, the cop chuckled. So you folks know him? Well, sort of. He's dating my sister? No way, I was going to call Stella my baby sister. Julio looked at me. I ignored him. The cop smiled. Clarence is my cousin. Tell him. Ruby said, how's that? Me and Julio got out and Ruby the cop drove away. That was weird. Julio shouted into the wind. Sure was. No, I mean, how you could call Stella your sister? Would you call her your baby sister? Good point. Later, we headed to our houses. Chapter 9. Clarence. The wind was not as bad at home as it was coming off the ocean. In fact, it felt like a vacation compared to the beach. But the rain was still pounding down in buckets. It was not possible for me to be any better. But the rain was warm, and that was good. Streak barked. She was looking out my bedroom window, her nose pushing at the screen. Hey girl, I shouted. I went into the garage and let her out. I took my shirt and shorts off, wrung them out, and got dry ones off the floor. Streak followed me into the kitchen. Clarence was emptying the bowl under the lake. Hey, he said, where you went? Where is everyone? Had to get groceries. Candles, chew, case your lost power. They went shopping in a storm? I peeked back out into the garage. Mom's car was gone and I hadn't even noticed. Watching the lake while they gone, Claret said, felt kind of weird to be home alone with someone I hardly knew. Clarence must have noticed. He chuckled. They be back soon. So, where you went? Just curious. Me and Julio, we went back to the beach to see if the river was going into the ocean. Gotta be like a freight train? Take you right out to sea, Clarence said. That was a scary thought. You check your boat, he said. No. Clarence set the empty bowl under the drip. We go. That river coming higher by the minute. We stood just inside the garage looking out. Raindrops splashed up over my feet and legs. The river was almost up to my skiff again, climbing the slope of our yard. How high do you think it will get? I asked. Could it reach our house? Well, you pretty high up. Through the wall of rain, I could make out the rickety old wooden golf course bridge that spanned the water just upriver. I would fished off it. Lots of times. There was a small platform out near the middle where you could sit. A few more feet, that platform would be underwater. Let's get your boat. We pulled the boat up to the top of the yard and left it bottom up. Back in the garage, we took off our soaked shirts and squeezed them out. Listen, Clarence said, I gotta go home. Watch that lake and tell Stella I said bye. Yeah, sure. You coming back? Tomorrow. Right now, I got to make sure my moms and sister are doing okay. What about your dad? Clarence snorted. No more dad, like you are. I have a dad. Yeah. He's a singer. He lives in Las Vegas. Clarence nodded. That's good, then, yeah. He started for his car. Wait, I said. Your cousin Rudy said hi. Clarence stopped. How you know Rudy? Clarence grinned. The bird, the beach, right? He made you come home. I frowned. Hey, no worries, I won't tell. He was okay, Clarence. Watch the river, he yelled as he got into his car. It starts coming up too high Call me. We make some sandbags for the house. Sandbags? I looked at the river. The rain roared on. The end. Thanks for watching the video. Bye.